All right. Well, how is everybody doing? I'm hosting today. Pretty great stuff. Inky, did you clean up the buzz cut? Looks pretty good.
In the dark, it looks pretty good, yeah. But you shine some light on it, and there's some hair sticking up for sure.
It's pretty much my whole philosophy.
Just keep the lights off. I look great.
Yeah, dim environments are where I thrive.
Well, to start things off, take a look here. What do we got, Inky? Anything to update here?
Oh, wow.
Anything to update? There's always things to update. These things are flying off the shelf. It's at an unbelievable pace. We really can't re-up our inventory enough. So
wow.
I would just get on it immediately. I'd probably type in WhosRecords.com. I'd use the 20% coupon. I'd add a couple things to my cart and check out.
Wow. There's only 6 left. Man, you
no. Oh shit, that's not right. Oh.
Shit.
Okay.
I like the filters on the side though.
Cut that.
Grab it. Yeah, we'll cut that out. That's actually not good. I don't know what happened.
We lost inventory. We've been robbed.
We've been robbed.
E-robbery.
Well, we'll take a look into that, folks. Don't worry.
So I would say, Dan, if you want to make any remarks about this album before Nigel comes in, I would say we've got a pretty safe space right now, but give it like 5 minutes because wait till he comes on and it's, unless you like the album. I haven't talked to him about it.
I mean, I'm a fan of this album. I bought this on CD back in high school. I started listening to Talking Heads a bunch, mostly based on this album and the live album, which got re-released this year. It's its 40th or 45th anniversary or something like that. Definitely worth checking out. One of the best live albums and concert albums, movies ever. So I've been a fan of this album for a really long time. But I can go into a little bit about the Talking Heads if you want to do that before the album.
Yeah, I don't really know much about them at all.
Same, yeah. I'd love to hear.
Aside from they're English, I think.
Well, David Byrne's Scottish. A little bit Scottish.
They started in New York.
Same shit.
Yeah, they
the Irishman.
They David Byrne and Chris France, the drummer, met in art school, and both moved to New York City, and just happened to be hey, let's start a band on the side, and they were just kind of working jobs. Chris's girlfriend, Tina, slowly learned how to play the bass and started playing with them. And then I don't know if you guys know the band The Modern Lovers, but also a sneaky good album. But the keyboardist and guitarist of that band, it had just broken up. And they poached him right before they released their first album in 1977. And they came up in New York City. They were playing with Blondie. They were playing with the Ramones. And so it's just interesting to compare them to those kind of bands, because I think they were really big coming out of post-punk and really the beginning of new wave. I think you can feel a lot of new wave influence, especially going into the 80s on this album. A lot of polyrhythmic stuff, a lot of just move your body kind of music, especially on the first side. But yeah, and another thing to note, those are the 4 core band members, but Brian Eno, if you guys know Brian Eno, he produced 3 Talking Heads albums, this one being the last one. So he's really considered a 5th band member. He plays a lot of the instruments. He does a lot of ornamentation on a lot of these songs. Also another person worth checking out.
Yeah, do you ever listen to his solo stuff?
A little bit, some of the ambient stuff that he started with Aphex Twin.
Really cool. There's that one album Apollo or something. That is crazy. That's a really cool album.
What do you mean when you say ambient stuff?
Just he kind of defined what ambient music is, what elevator music is. What is the perfect ambient sound? And he first released something music for airports, I think was the first ambient album.
you ever listen to like the soundtrack to Interstellar, it's not as crazy as that, but I feel like this was a like a precursor for a lot of the like Hans Zimmer type music that came out in the past like couple decades. It's just like it's ambient but kind of like spacey a little bit, almost like what's that show? I forget it. Anyways, just like Twilight Zone, kind of Twilight Zone. Yeah,
Good save.
I thought you were going to say Minecraft music.
It is kind of like Minecraft music too.
We should review 2418 or whatever that is.
2418. That album is fire.
Yeah.
That's got to be one of the best ambient albums out there.
That would actually be a funny episode because it would obviously be heavily leaning into your guys' experience playing Minecraft, and I've never played it.
Oh shit! You never did.
That is
You gotta get on it right now.
Somehow eluded me. My sister actually plays it at school sometimes. So you guys might want to get her on the podcast and kick me off.
Dude, that album, it's like impossible to find the vinyl. It's like such an expensive vinyl. It's insane. It's kind of funny. Hold on, I'll look it up.
Man, Nigel, you just missed it. We were talking about Minecraft.
Yeah,
next week we're doing
he's gonna need like 3 more minutes to get his audio working.
Yeah, that's right.
Unfortunately.
Wow.
Hey.
You just came through.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Amazing. All right.
That's really surprising. Man, all that money well spent.
Yeah. What have we covered so far?
Well, we already ranked it.
The whole thing.
Okay.
It started from the back, and now we're gonna review it.
All right. All right, great. We've changed some
Switching things up.
I looked up ambient music, and on Wikipedia, Brian Eno is like credited with being the creator of the genre.
Yep.
I didn't know a person could be assigned creator of a genre.
Clearly,
Yeah. Emo music? Oh, ambient music? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Emo music.
Like right around this time, Brian Eno and David Byrne released like a duo album, like My Life in the Bush of Ghosts, which is like found sound, like analog sampling, which is like early kind of like hip hop stylings and like really cool production techniques. They're just kind of pioneers.
Yeah.
Has anyone gone yet?
No, I was just like talking about the Talking Heads a little bit.
Dude, how long have we been listening to this album? Like 3 weeks?
Seriously, yeah.
I enjoyed every second of it.
It's been a pretty good 3 weeks. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's been fun.
I don't know if you guys noticed, but this album also came out in 1980, right? It's top of the 80s, right at the beginning, the forefront. But I thought it was interesting. What's the other album that we've reviewed? London Calling. Yeah. London that was in this time. So London Calling came out in 79, but it was only like 8 months before this because this came out. Because I think London Calling came out in like December of 79. So essentially an 80s album. And just the sound, it's so completely different. Like, I don't know, it just really stood out to me how different.
So different. They're across the pond. But I think like what's so interesting is they're so different, yet they're both kind of post-punk new wave. Yet they're so different. They're the exact same like bridge between genres, but two completely different takes on it, which is really cool.
That's why new wave's great.
God, I love new wave.
Like Devo, man. Some good shit.
I love.
Also, Seamus was saying, I don't know which week this was. Someone was telling you how London Calling should be higher, right? Who was that?
Correct. That was my friend Matt. Then he went to North Penn. Him and Ninky like vaguely know each other or know of each other. Soccer guy.
Gotcha.
Big supporter of the pod too. So careful what you say.
Well, he's dead wrong. That album is not deserved to be any higher than it is.
I was surprised that he was dying on that hill because, so it's iconic, which we discussed, and is widely regarded as their best album. But what I was trying to explain to him is that concept that we've talked about, where it's like, well, if you're a double album, you've got more shots to have good songs. So you've got to factor in the fact that you've got to weigh it as an average of 16 or 20 songs, however many are on it.
It's a double mid album. That's what
I don't understand why we're hating on one of my favorite albums when it's not even this podcast. Can we stick to this album?
Oh,
Hey,
you
man,
like London
hey,
Calling?
hey.
I don't
That shit
appreciate
was
slander.
mid city.
I
Not
was-
Their
literally.
next album,
San Francisco is mid
Sandinista,
city, but
is really good. The one that came in 1980 from The Clash.
I,
It's a solid album. I've been blasting.
Give Him Enough Rope is my favorite, and that's a very
the 80s is just, man, fucking missed it, dude.
I
Fucking
know.
missed it.
missed it by 12 years,
Dude.
9 years. Depends how you want to calculate that, I guess, because it's like, what's it worth being born in December of '89?
Probably not worth it.
You're effectively a 90s
I wish
album
I was
before it's
born. If I was born in like 70 and I was a teenager and in 20s throughout the 80s, that would have been.
I mean, all of our parents pretty much were, more or less, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, my parents are a little bit younger, but yeah.
Damn, he called your mom old.
I called my parents irresponsible.
Fair.
Yeah, take your pick. Anyways, yeah. So who wants to go first on this?
I always say that, like, since Dan like nominated it, I feel like he should go last. I always like.
I've got to just chime in real quick. I nominated it.
No,
Definitely was me.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
All right. Well, somebody go.
I mean, yeah, I'll go. So, first off, love the album cover. The reason I wanted to pick this album is because I was in the gym without headphones like a psychopath, and they were playing Once in a Lifetime, and I was like, this is a good song. I wonder what album this is off of. And that's the whole story. It doesn't get any deeper than that. I was in the gym, listening to the gym music played over the loudspeaker, and Once in a Lifetime came on. I was like, that's a banger.
Dude, what an awful song we listened to at the gym, in my opinion.
Dude, I
Great
listen
song.
to
Great song.
audiobooks at the gym, so I don't,
You're
I don't
psychopath.
Yeah.
don't have any room to move to argue. But yeah, it was and then I was gonna listen to the album, and I was like, oh, we should maybe I should wait and just make it for one of the things we do on the podcast. But right off the bat, Born Under Punches, The Heat Goes On, fantastic song, great way to open the album. I won't get too deep into it. I mean, I think one of the things I've read about was their use of like Afro beats, Afrocentric polyrhythms and stuff like that. And you could definitely get that with most of the songs. There's a lot going on melodically and from a percussion standpoint, which I definitely appreciate because you can listen to the same, like one of these songs and notice something new, a new element every single time you listen to it because there's just so much going on.
So much.
And that's what makes it interesting because it's very repetitive. A lot of the parts can be very repetitive, but because they have things repeating maybe once a beat, maybe once every 3 beats, maybe once every 5 in these weird repetitions that it kind of makes it more satisfying to listen to because maybe the thing that loops every 3 beats doesn't sync up with the thing that loops every 9 beats except for, after a couple bars or something like that. But thought it was really interesting and I don't know if I'd say ahead of its time because they're taking aspects from other cultures' music, but ahead of its time as far as the integration into American rock music. They're American, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cross-Eyed and Painless, another great song. I think The Great Curve is my favorite song in the album, which might be a bit of a hot take because Once in a Lifetime is a great song. It's probably the most popular song in the album, I think. I don't know if you have the Spotify open, Inky, or Jack. Those things. Yeah, Once in a Lifetime, fantastic song. One of their biggest songs ever. There's not a miss on this album for me. The Overload is very slow and a little bit different, but it's the closeout, so I can appreciate it. I don't know which one it is. It might be Cross-Eyed and Painless, the one where he's talking about changing his face. That might have been Seen and Not Seen. Dan, do you know?
It's both.
Oh, okay, it's both.
Yeah, it's both.
Yeah,
It's
there's
a theme in the
very,
music. Really cool.
some very interesting stuff going on lyrically, like the
Yeah.
theming and messaging, which I thought was interesting because the first couple of listens of the album I didn't pay attention to it because I was listening to the music. Music was pretty complex. And then I started listening to the words and I was like, what is this guy talking about? But the great
A lot of
courage is
jokes
just,
thoughts. That
What's
was his
that?
like writing process. Sorry to interrupt. But he like had writer's block when he was writing, like trying to come up with lyrics for this album, and kind of just like wrote phrases, like just sentences, and sort of pieced it together. That's like Born Under Punch's kind of like, it has a similar kind of like lyrical setup to like Psycho Killer, honestly. It's like a weird neurotic perspective from this guy. So it just ends up like being really interesting, I think, listening to the lyrics multiple times, honestly.
for sure. I think another cool thing is who's the lead singer? I don't actually know much about the Talking
David
Heads.
Byrne.
David Byrne.
Dude, his voice is
Yeah,
great.
so great.
Awesome.
Super unique. Also, one of the I forget which song it is off the top of my head. It might have been Seen Not Seen. One of them sounds like, I know it isn't. I think it's still David Byrne, but his voice in that song sounds like Jim Morrison. If you've ever heard like the song, I think it's called Ghost Ships or something. It's almost like spoken poetry.
Oh yeah, that sounds real up my alley.
But like it just the way he's just like talking through the song instead of like singing.
Yeah.
Reminded me a lot of Jim Morrison.
He does a similar, he just speaks directly in like Houses in Motion too.
Yeah. It might have been Houses in Motion. But yeah, his voice is great on the entire album. Great harmonies in the background. If you can scroll down, I don't know, are they singing a lot of background vocals or is he just layering stuff?
Yeah.
Backing vocals, yeah.
Nona Hendrix, someone who maybe we should know, but probably wouldn't.
Yeah, the vocals are great. The bass is great. The bass line's fantastic. The melody's all fantastic. The audio engineering is really amazing because there's so much going on, but it doesn't sound messy. Like if they just recorded that and they didn't have a great engineer, the album would probably suck because of how complex it is. Like there's so much layering going on. That is a pretty impressive aspect of the album, and I definitely really like that. But I don't think I had anything. Oh, I was going to say The Great Curve is my number one song on the album. What an amazing song title for a song about a woman, you know? Just The Great Curve. Like just pick any of them, you know? That's The Great Curve. But I love the theming, love the name.
What is the lyric in the song? Like the world revolves around a woman's hips or something like that?
The world
Is that
moves on the woman's hips.
Yeah,
Just
so
the lyrics
fun.
are so good.
The world moves and it bounces and pops. It's so good, man. Just wants you to move your hips. You should move your hips in that song, man.
And I mean, I know Dan likes this album, and I say this every week, but you know, Dan has a great taste in music, especially since he likes this album. Never sort of up on
The
that one.
opposite of what was said last week.
I don't know what you're talking about. I have a deep respect for your taste in music, especially since you like this album. But yeah, I thought this was a great one.
I was surprised to hear you recommend it. I was like, oh, hell yeah. I'm glad to listen to this.
Yeah.
This whole time, I thought Dan recommended the album, as I admitted earlier. So I kind of just naturally expected Nigel to come on and shit on it, because that seems to be a theme. Dan could pick Nigel's favorite album, and Nigel would be like, "Yeah, this album is not that good."
This week, this album sucks.
Nigel only likes Seals and Crofts. That's his only band.
Yeah, Seals and Croft and Jefferson Airplane, but we can't review that because I can't have it end up where Seals and Croft did.
Jefferson Airplane is like our first band.
Yeah.
In for the Outdoor was the first.
It's a will they,
one.
won't they? You know?
Yeah, that's fair. We talked about it every episode.
Oh, wait,
We did finally break that streak
Well,
at some
we
point.
just brought it back. It sounds like.
Yeah. Inky, what did you think of the album? You were pretty quiet during that whole reflection by Nigel.
Are you outside, Inky?
He
I'm
is.
outside.
Wow, weather must be nice.
Jealous.
I'm freezing. Probably gonna hop off soon.
It's actually really
But
nice here.
the-
Hop off the balcony.
yeah, call first, balcony second. The album was good. I enjoyed it. I agreed with a lot of what Nigel said. I think they're a great band. Not that I know much by them, but from what I've heard, I think they're great. I think they attract a super weird crowd. For me, it kind of feels like the kids growing up in the 80s in high school who like Pink Floyd but want to take that next like weird step, kind of gravitate towards the Talking Heads. I don't know if that resonates with any of you guys, but
Like Pink Floyd fans, but hipsters for their times.
Pink Floyd fans,
Go ahead.
but they're like the next level up of weird.
But not
Yeah.
really.
I feel like-
doing David Burns dances, you know.
I feel like they're like private school Pink Floyd fans, like kind of
Yeah,
like preppy and like on the straight and edge a little bit, or just like
If
Tool.
Max
good
Mines was
too.
born in the 80s.
Max Mind's born. That's
this album's all him.
He would be David Byrne.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, all that, what Dan was saying, what Nigel was kind of getting into, it's a high IQ album. And
Yes.
unfortunately, I'm a low IQ listener, so a lot of that doesn't come through that well. I think I can appreciate I can appreciate it though, regardless, because there is a lot there, and it is somewhat obvious. But for me again, I kind of trailed off side 2, honestly. I'm definitely, so that being said, definitely side A over side B, and 100% agree with Nigel. The Great Curve, haven't heard before. It really stood out. I mean, it's going to be added to a couple playlists, DUI playlists for sure. Imagine just flying down the road. may or may not be under the influence. We'll cut that out. But yeah, that's an easy MVP, like most underrated song, everything. Again, kind of trailed off side 2. I'm not the biggest fan of Once in a Lifetime. I don't know. Yeah. It's just I think it's a bit overrated, but maybe that's just because it's a really popular song. I'd love if someone explained what it was about, because I listened to it a few times, and
It's literally about like it's not. It's taken at face value. Like it's about like
You like
oh my god,
Yeah.
this even happened.
kind of like an existential song.
it can fly by.
Okay.
It's not like there's not it really like his thought with it is like that's it. Kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. Watch the music video too.
I think I did watch the music video, and it was super whack, which kind of
Yeah,
informed
hilarious.
my Pink Floyd the next level up opinion.
Yeah,
So
he's got
I think
some
other
great
than that,
dancers.
yeah, good album. I enjoyed it. Again, just kind of trailed off towards the end, and I'm gonna guess that Seamus really liked The Great Curve as well. I mean, it's a great song, and I think he's gonna pull some some Police metaphors out here in the near future. So I'm probably most looking
Interesting.
forward to his take on it.
Wow. All right. That's
So you put me on the
That's a
spot.
natural transition.
that's flattering.
Popcorn.
So the Police comment that you make is pretty interesting, actually, because in my Spotify radio, whatever it is that comes on after you listen to the album, there was a Police song that I might have to look up the title of. It's one of the ones that I've heard it plenty of times before. It was on Regatta de Blanc, but when it played that, I did hear some similarities there. That new wave, early ska type of influence. But Inky, it's funny, like based on what you just said, I guess I'm a low IQ listener because I really did not enjoy this album.
Yes, I'm an
Nice, man.
idiot.
Join
Oh,
the
wow.
club. Join the club. All good.
Yeah, I am kind of standing alone on this one. And it takes a little bit of bravery sometimes to do that, but I feel like I had to. No, I don't know. It's like you guys have made some interesting points, and that's what's cool about our discussions every time. I think we're all naturally paying attention to different things, and Nigel definitely does a good job of paying attention to, and I would say Dan too, to an array of different musical elements. But Dude, in my notes on this album, somewhere I literally have written down this whole album just sounds like loading screen music.
You should not listen to Brian Eno then.
Oh my god.
So I mean,
And boy,
Yeah.
I kinda nailed
There's
it, man.
some banging loading
Talk
screen
about
music.
the ambient.
Didn't we talk
music
about
and
This is a
guitar
game I want to play,
being
man.
legendary?
yeah, I mean, I would listen to that 20 times over before this. I don't. So I have definitely like characterized myself as a one-track listener on all of these reviews, and I think part of that is because there's only so many things that I can speak to well. So obviously, we've made plenty of jokes that I don't listen to lyrics, and I'm probably stereotyped for hyper focusing on guitar.
Mhm.
And so, if you listen to the guitar parts on this album, like there was quite literally no moment where I was like, wow, that was awesome. Like he shredded that, or what a solo, or I mean, really anything about the playing. One of the things that I thought was interesting, so we talk about new wave, we talk about like that kind of like early ska influence, reggae. I thought the guitar parts were very similar across all of the songs in terms of the rhythm that it was like a really quick, like emphasizing the up strums again, like something that you would really hear in a lot of ska and reggae. And it
It's
was
very
just,
rhythmic.
yes. And Nigel made good points about how interesting the rhythms and the beats and the way they layered those parts onto each other is in this album, and that's probably one of the reasons why I don't like it as much, because that's something that I don't pay as much attention to, so it's different and not in like a catchy cliche way, like it's in a very different way, so it can be a little stark to the ear sometimes. So there are probably a lot of things that I didn't pick up on that you guys have drawn my attention to, but yeah, honestly, I mean, listening through every song today was only maybe like this. I want to say the third time. I want to say the first day that I listened to it, I listened to it twice, back to back, because it's not that long of an album, I don't think. And then we've been sitting on this for almost 3 weeks, and I really haven't picked it up since then because I just really wasn't interested. But we said we were gonna do it tonight, so I listened to it again, and I was in the same boat. I was listening to it digitally, obviously on Spotify, and I skipped through each song like before the end of it. It just did not really vibe with my ears that well. Although, Once in a Lifetime, which is the cliche song, the potentially overrated song on the album because it's the radio song. I do think that that's a great song. I also have in my notes here, when I got to Once in a Lifetime, it says this is the first song that doesn't sound like people just fucking around.
Some real code music.
That I can agree with. They are definitely like off the wall in their song composition.
Yeah,
but
and
in a great way, in my opinion.
Yeah,
and that's fair, and that's where I definitely don't appreciate like experimentalism in music. But I know that this is different than some of the other kind of experimental stuff than what we've talked about before, and I do think it's probably like well executed, but it's just not really a sound that I really enjoyed. And I think the only other worthwhile note that I have written down also about Once in a Lifetime is that is one of those classic rock songs that every time I hear it just brings me back to like VGs and Vex Garage.
Oh my! That is
Like,
not
it's
where it
just
took me
like-
at all.
And like the Pavilion and stuff like that. I don't know if it's just because it's
Is
like
it really
MG.
that song?
Yeah,
That's
I mean, there's
surprising.
a good handful of them that I probably
Sure.
heard repeatedly for the first time at that time in
Got it.
those environments, because it's just like MGK classic rock, and that's what the boys were listening to in
Yeah.
the garage. You know what I mean?
We should start off VGs again. That's what I'm
That's
hearing.
kind of what I'm getting at.
All right.
Vinyls
Sponsored
only.
by WhosRecords. I would love
Yeah.
this on vinyl.
But
that'd be cool.
yeah, that's really all I got. I don't have too great or too high IQ of a breakdown of the things I don't like, because again, I can only really speak to the things I pay attention to, and it was really flat from a guitar standpoint. There wasn't really I don't know if you guys would agree with this, and maybe I was just tuned out to it at some point, but I didn't really think there was any instrumentalism that like stuck out to me. I mean, Nigel talked about like the rhythm elements, and there were vocal parts too. I guess there were times in which I paid attention to the bass line, but it's I guess what I should say, different than how I just described it. It's just very different than the ones that I would always put in S and A, where it's not just the guitars in those. I mean, again, bass parts, drum parts, but things that I'm hearing all the time where I'm like, that's just a really impressive groove or something like that. I don't know. It's just the style, I guess. It's just not really up my alley.
I'm gonna hop in real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
So there's definitely some pretty cool like synth solos and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And I think I mean I get what you're saying with the instrumentalism as far as it's not as traditionally impressive, but I would also keep in mind that none of this is sequenced, so they're playing all of these parts for the full like 6-minute runtime of some of these songs, and they're playing it perfectly the entire time. Like it seems like it's just a drum machine playing all these parts, but it's not. They're actually playing, and you can, if you really listen, you can tell because you can hear the minute or changes and pace and stuff. But yeah, it's not quite as the same as an instrument taking a solo stage presence in the song to be impressive. It's really just all the elements playing their part perfectly. So nothing really takes center stage other than the vocals and maybe some of the rhythmic parts with some of them with like the slap bass or some of the percussion elements in some of the songs. But a lot of it is just the overall movement of the song is the center stage. It's not a single instrument because one piece will come in for a beat and another piece will come in for half a beat, and then on top of that you have these weird, interesting lyrics and in my opinion, a great vocal too. But I see what you're saying in the sense that it's not like someone's shredding on the bass or the guitar or the drum kit. It's definitely much more of an orchestrated piece of music, or like a symphony, I guess, in the sense of there's a lot of different parts that aren't necessarily doing a whole lot on their own, but when you think about the song composition, you put them all together, it creates a pretty complex piece of music.
That's a very fair take. But going back to something that I joked about, I also feel like that is how loading screens is composed in many video games and stuff. But yeah, I'm a hater. I mean, it is what it is. And I'm also outnumbered. So you guys win.
But dude, did you not like the guitar solo on The Great Curve?
I have to re-listen to The Great Curve.
So yeah, they had a guest guitarist come on, like guitarist.
So he's not in the band.
Adrian Bello. I mean, dude, it's a solo on the album.
No, it counts. It counts. Yeah, no, I'll have to re-listen to it. The one thing that goes against that song and everything else on the album is that I always listen to it in the same order. So perhaps in isolation, I will notice more.
All right, who's up? Who's taking the mantle?
You want to go?
I can go. Crazy that like what's so interesting with this podcast and just like talking about something so subjective is you have like a critically acclaimed album here, but just like completely different opinions because people's tastes are just so subjective, and like it's so hard to come to a consensus on something like this, which makes for good discussion. So I'm glad to hear Seamus's dissenting opinion. And this album definitely is not for everyone. I could see it like being pretty popular at the time, and music tastes change over generations, and yeah, I could see like just not being for everyone. That being said, I enjoyed it. I grew up listening to Talking Heads a lot. My parents were huge fans, so we always kind of had them playing in the house. This one is, I had never listened to this album fully. I knew Cross-Eyed and Painless, Born Under Punches, and Once in a Lifetime, but I didn't know the rest. And I thought it was like super solid. I really enjoyed like the first side is awesome, kind of what everyone has said so far, kind of echoing everything. Like it just rocks. Like Cross-Eyed and Painless is like one of my favorite, probably my favorite Talking Heads song. I've really enjoyed it for a while. And the second side, like Houses in Motion and Listening Wind, are like, I think, the stellar two songs on the second side. Seen Not and Not Seen is also really good, but I think Listening Wind is just like super cool. And then Houses in Motion is probably my favorite on the second side. The Overload, it's not something I listen to a ton. I think it's like a song that fits in the context of this album, but as a song by itself, it doesn't really do much. But kind of like Nigel said, it works as a really good outro. And as you've noticed, I've kind of gone around Once in a Lifetime because I literally cannot listen to that song ever again. It's so painful. I can't stand it. It's kind of like, I think you guys were all saying that about Walk of Life on the Dire Straits album. It's just like been ruined by pop culture. And I think Once in a Lifetime, and this is kind of I think something that Talking Heads specifically suffers from the most, is a lot of their hits have been so taken by pop culture that maybe it might just be for me, but a lot of their hits I really can't listen to at all anymore. Like Burning Down the House and like Once in a Lifetime. Say again?
Psycho Killer, maybe.
Psycho Killer.
This Must Be the Place.
Yeah.
Literally all their top songs, I can't listen to it all anymore. And it's too bad because like I really love like the rest of their discography, but their like top 5 songs have just been so overplayed and used in context that I just like don't like. And like I can't listen to Once in a Lifetime. And I was listening to this album with Mallory a couple times, and she was like, said the same thing. Like she's like, "Can you please skip the song? I can't listen to it anymore." I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." So it's too bad. I can't stand it. And that's like, I don't really know if I can like say it's a bad song. Like objectively, it was probably really good before it was like ruined by everyone playing it. So it's kind of hard to say like really what I would think of it if I was alive when this came out. But I think like a big reason I like this album a lot is like the Afro psychedelic like influence of it. Like I don't know how much you guys listen to Fela Kuti, but he's a major influence on this album, and he's like kind of one of my favorite artists. Definitely of that genre. He's one of the most famous, if not the most famous. And he's just got like such cool songs, and they're all like 20 minutes, and it's just like super psychedelic. And I think those are the parts of this album that I like the most. Not as much like the synth work, probably like where Nigel really thinks this album shines through, but I think in just like those more like African loops and like, I don't know, I really appreciated that stuff. Is kind of where my tastes fit in with this. Yeah, it's a cool album. It's really fun. I think I'm a little like at this point after 3 weeks, I think I need to give it a little bit of a break because it's like really esoteric and just like kind of takes you for a loop for a long time, and can get a little bit exhausting because it's just so crazy. But I still really enjoy it, and I'm excited to like listen to it in a couple months or something. It's a cool one.
I've definitely noticed for you, Jack, is those kind of like pop songs or those hit songs that do get taken by culture, just in general, not necessarily with the Talking Heads. I've definitely noticed like that has a bigger impact on your ability to listen to it and enjoy it in the future.
Yeah, I agree. I like I think it's really overexposure, and I think I have a short attention span where I really can't listen to something too much, and then until it gets kind of ruined. And that song has definitely been ruined.
That's pretty much how you feel about all of CCR's discography, right?
Yeah, CCR is a ruined band for me for sure. Walgreens did it. That was like the down in the corner. They're like, all right, they just sent that band to jail.
Yeah, I mean the Vietnam War didn't help either.
Yeah, if we didn't
all depictions of it.
Yeah, they're screwed. And we're never doing their albums. I'll miss that week.
All right.
Oh, one more thing. Sorry. It's cool. They produced like half of this in Philly, which is cool. They did like a lot of the production in Bahamas.
I didn't know that.
Did finish the rest in Philly.
That's sweet.
Yeah, so cool stuff. Anyways,
Go Birds.
Go Birds. 8-1, baby. Go Birds. Are we 8-1 or 7-1? What are we at? Oh,
watch football.
so good. So
you asked that on purpose. You knew you just wanted to hear.
good. I wanted to hear someone else tell me.
Okay.
Oh, who did we beat last week?
We beat the Cowboys.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
All right.
All right, go ahead, Dan.
But I digress. Yeah, so like I said earlier on, I was like really got into this album like senior year of high school, and it was like my doorway into the Talking Heads. And like I kind of agree with what Jack said. There's like some amount of fatigue you can get listening to these songs, and like the sheer amount of complexity, like lyrically, musically, and all around. So I just like instead started listening to all their other albums. Like I'm just like a big fan of kind of their overall sound, and like David Byrne especially. Like I definitely agree. He's got such an interesting voice, and like such a theatrical way of presenting his voice in these songs. Like going through a lot of their discography, like he changes how he sounds pretty frequently. Really displays like a lot of emotion pretty handily. And it's like really interesting ways. So I really like his performance on this album. Especially like the rhythm guitar, because in like a lot of these songs, especially like the first three, you get a lot of really chunky, jerky guitar, like electric guitar, which is mostly David Byrne. He just kind of plays the rhythm. And like seeing him play live, like I really like his kind of style. Like, I don't know. I like that kind of chunky, jerky chord sound that he has, as well as his live performance. So he's just kind of an MVP. But I definitely kind of agree with like all of what Nigel had said. Like, I think there's not a bad song on here. No way. When I first got into this album, The Great Curve was definitely my favorite song. Like, it's just such a hitter all the way through. Like, no way I'm skipping any of that 6 minutes and 28 seconds.
I skipped almost all of it.
Yeah, that's probably why you never heard guitar solo.
Yeah, you missed the guitar solo.
No, I
Oh,
did.
my
I
God.
did at least 2 runs of this without touching the skip button.
Yeah, and I said there was a guest musician playing the guitar, and you said it doesn't count, man. That opens up a whole question about session musicians. I feel like
That would eliminate all of Steely Dan's discography, which I won't allow. So yes, it counts.
No problem. But like second time going through and listening to this album a bunch, like I really like Listening Wind. Like I feel like back then I wasn't really paying attention to the lyrics and like the content of that song. And it's literally the perspective of a terrorist mailing a bomb to people.
Whoa.
Really?
And he's just the listening wind as he's listening to his guiding voice telling him to do this. And like, listen, I was like, I was like, oh my God. And just such like weird content for this, like very ambient, like we were talking about Brian Eno and ambient music. It has this like very spacey, and I would say like Andy Summers Police like guitar work, like the floating chords where he's just playing like really high notes, like the totally fluctuating in pitch. And it's just really cool. They do a lot of really interesting stuff, and I can see how it would be perceived as like overall kind of boring or like a little lackluster. Like I can see how someone would like hate Houses in Motion and how it's just like such a slow, like they would get sick of that same like drum beat going through it, but not me. I love the whole thing.
Mhm.
And agree that the overload, like context of this album, like it's a closer. Like this isn't a song I'm picking out and putting in a playlist, and it really works well. And luckily I can still listen to Once in a Lifetime.
I'm proud of you.
Great song.
Jealous.
Great song. Yeah, I give them my favorite song this time would be like Listening Wind or Born Under Punches. I think it's such a cool opener, and like really is it. I think it's like the shock value. Born Under Punches. I'm a government man. Like it's just like the weirdest stuff.
It's such a perfect intro song because not only is it an intro to this album, since it came out in 1980, it's an intro to the 80s, and it's just perfect. It's just Also, maybe you knew this, Dan, but I'm actually blanking on his name. But like I think it was the lead singer and guitarist of Radiohead was heavily inspired by this album. And the
Tom
guitar
York.
work, yeah, and the polyrhythms and stuff. Yeah, York. And what I was talking about earlier with how everything is actually played through and not looped was part of what had such a big impact on him, because he, I guess, took all of that little nuances of playing your instrument instead of looping it, and incorporated into Radiohead sound, because Radiohead, they've got a lot of iconic riffs too.
Yeah, I definitely read something like from the guitarist, like Johnny Greenwood, about like how in particular they weren't looping anything. Like they played these repetitive riffs and got so insanely good at it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we reviewed the Bends, but their album Kid A, which is like a lot more electronic and like studio based stuff, they used loops and like drum machines and stuff. And they were like, yeah, we definitely took some out of this like cookbook that David Byrne and Brian Eno had here.
Mm-hmm.
It's influential.
I'm listening to Listening Wind right now. So good. So much more interesting now that I know the backstory too.
Yeah,
but
that's awesome.
Yeah, the lyrics are like, oh shit, yeah, that's what this is about. Okay.
Seen and Not Seen is also the one I was talking about earlier, where it's like the guy's talking about thinking about having a face, and his face changes to match it, and he thinks everyone else can also change their face by looking at other faces. It's very weird.
I just kind of love the overall like lyrical content. Like there are other albums like David Byrne kind of has like a whimsical approach to songwriting. Like he kind of seems neurotic in like his presentation, his voice. But like this album is so pessimistic and like strange, and it really has that neurotic energy in like his lyricism and presentation. And I just think it works really well for the kind of music they made and wanted to make here, which is a real passion project, I think.
For sure. He pulled up the page, the ultimate page.
Yep.
Is it that time?
It is that time, I believe.
Thank you.
Okay.
Love
Yes,
looking down at the
ghosting,
D
so I'm gonna
column.
put him on the spot.
Inky, what do you got?
Yeah, I'll go first. After hearing everyone's takes, I think I do stand a little bit closer to Seamus than a Dan or a Nigel, but probably split the difference there. I could see myself putting it, depending on the week and the order of this is presented to us, anywhere from like a low A to a mid B. I'm going to go with below. That's pretty low. It's tough because I think I said like low S for Sticky Fingers, but I'll go above it for now and below the Phil Collins album.
Damn, you said low S
Okay.
for Sticky Fingers?
I think I did,
Anyone mid
and I got clowned.
Yeah,
Wow.
we were pretty unanimous that we didn't think it was that great.
Yeah.
Unfortunate, Mickey. Unfortunate.
Dude, I am not looking forward to the day that I come out of the gate passionate as fuck about an album. Like
That's
this
my
is
next
nice.
bucket,
You guys
man.
shoot it down and you're like, yo, that's a C. But I wouldn't know what that's like yet. So
Your taste is too good.
It's too dang good.
yeah, I mean, if we're gonna talk about splitting the difference, obviously bearish on the album. And this is probably harsh based on I know he said he had to leave at 7, but I thought he wanted to at least hear it. He left on like a cliffhanger.
He had left her before.
This is probably harsh, but in terms of how I liked it, in terms of re-listenability, it's definitely a C for me. And
Wow.
yeah,
Inky's not here to back you up anymore.
Unfortunate.
I know, man. What the hell? Honestly, dude, as far as poor Beach Boys down in D. Not gonna put it there.
Look how sad that Orsa was
Yeah.
to be.
And I would put it above Seals of Croft. But I don't know, dude. I just don't
agree
know.
with that.
I don't know if I bump it any higher.
Okay, this is ridiculous. This is absurd, dude. This is an S. This is definitely an S.
I like what
I'm having a difficulty deciding where an S, just because like I haven't listened to the other albums in S recently. But I think this might be the
an
best.
open spot for it.
I think this is the best album we've listened to.
All right, guys, I'll see you later.
I know. This is
Is that a serious take?
that's my serious take. It might be the best listen. The best listen so far. Like, especially the cohesiveness as an album, all the different directions it takes you. The complexity of the music. Like, there's everyone has their different perspective on why an album should be placed where it's placed, but this album has a lot going for it. I don't think there's a miss on the album. I think it's extremely complex and interesting. I think it's way ahead of its time. I don't think there's anything else like it at the time or before. And it came out swinging and just hit over and over and over again. I think it's definitely better than Boston.
Sorry.
I mean, it's one of those albums. There's not a miss. It's just like 1984, and it's just like Boston.
Wish You Were Here, I think it is better than Wish You Were Here.
Wow, that's insane.
And whether or not it's better than 1984, I don't know. I don't. That's hard because
Seamus will literally reach through.
1984 is like, obviously it's perfect all the way through, but it's a little samey, right? It's high energy all the way through. This is different, It takes you on a trip.
Yeah,
and
this, and 1984 is Diet. This.
I don't know. That's close. You know what? I'm just gonna commit. I think this is top of S.
You should commit.
I think this is the best album.
Like that.
Nice.
Dude, it's like you only get like one top of S every I don't know 20 episodes.
I know. I was not expecting that, but this album is like, it's that. It is that.
I spent hours listening to this in high school.
Are you up there with him, Dan?
Yeah, like I would definitely say it's in S tier for sure. Like, clearly one of the better albums we've like listened to out of this list. Like, I know I'm always going to be coming back to this one. And like No Jacket Required was my hill that I died on. Like I said, that was my top of S, because I know out of everything that's on here, like I'm going to go back to that one. Like that's a me record, I just feel that. And ultimately, it's like a subjective. Like, what do you feel? And like Remain in Light is just a banger. It's just a fucking banger. All these songs.
Yeah.
I would definitely feel comfortable like putting it up with 1984 in Boston, like for sure. Like, at least with my personal taste and how it would stack up with those, it's definitely there.
Dude, I'm blown away. This is insane, dude. Like, every musician on every one of those bands is better than any musician in anything I heard on this album.
Better than really.
It's not just about. It's just not about instrumentation.
That was an emotional take.
Yeah, but I think what was so cool about this album, like reading about it, is like the production. Like, it was just like, I don't even know all the people that went into it and how much work went into it, and the way it was described. It sounded like they were putting together like a wedding or something, or some crazy event. All this work of all these people coming together to build something insane from nothing when they really didn't have the technology to do it. It's really cool. It just sounds like a bunch of professionals came together and just built it. And then released it. It's really, really cool, like how they did it. And it kind of just got me excited when I was reading about how it was made, and coming from someone who knows nothing about music and like production, like it was, wow, that is so fascinating that all this work went into it together with and it's a mixture of so many genres. It's so fascinating. That being said, I don't think it's an S-tier album, but it's really cool. I think it's up there, and I think it's really, really, really cool. I love it. I'm probably going to listen to it again. It's tough because I disagree with so much of what's on this board already. Like, it's so hard to like.
It gets harder.
This goes above the front half of A, and it goes below the bottom half of A for me, which is so strange, but that's how it works. Like Radiohead, Dire Straits, Chili Peppers are all better than those first 3 albums, in my opinion. And I think that this goes right along with those, but that's not the case. Same with London Calling. That should be up at top as well, but it's not. And it's tough. I don't think this is an S tier album. I don't think it goes up with those heavy shooters. I think this is in the front half of A, somewhere in there. That's where I think this belongs. It's a pretty phenomenal album, but Once in a Lifetime sucks, and there's nothing I can do about that. It's just how I feel. Sorry.
Nothing you can do about that.
There's nothing.
The album's a masterpiece. It absolutely is a masterpiece.
It's a pretty phenomenal, like, it's just really like, it just kind of blows you away how cool it is, and like all the work that goes into it, and the looping, just like how I don't know. And I think Dan, you said it's so like such a great take. It was either Dan or Nigel. It might have been Nigel actually, of like when the loops would match up with each other, different parts of the song, and like, whoa, that's so cool. And it's all intentional, and all the work and like master craftsmanship that went into doing that, pretty impressive.
Yeah, they took this insane like Afrobeat, funk, new wave, punk grooves, and they made you fucking dance to them.
Yeah.
They made you dance to them.
They did. Seamus is dancing. He doesn't want to admit it.
Yes.
My legs are dancing right now below the camera.
So where does this leave us?
Dude, I feel like I got to go to like my local pond and like skip a few stones and have some old man thinking time.
Dude, is it
So
so
how we're seeing so? Did I listen to the wrong album?
I'm just curious. Is it so hard to like understand why people would think this is like a groundbreaking record? Like even like personal taste aside.
No. I mean, I can definitely see how there are elements of this album that somebody else would really, really cherish. But I was just blown away to hear it. I mean, so we're talking about personal tastes. Obviously, the S category.
This lines up perfectly with personal taste, in my opinion. From what
obviously, 3 out of the 4 records in S align heavily with my personal tastes. So to hear this compared to those is just very interesting in terms of putting them in the same class. But the whole theme of this episode, I think, is just about how there are different things that people hone in on. And I'm probably revealing that I'm heavily weighted in certain things and ignorant in other things besides just lyrics, maybe, because that's been well established. But
you know what? You like what you like, and that's kind of it. You tried and you didn't like it. Simple as that. Like it is what it is.
I mean, there's no, like, the stuff that you've mentioned as being, your favorite bands, stuff like The Police or Van Halen or Boston, at least stuff that we have up here. It's not a 3-instrument band, 3-man band or a 4-man band. And it's completely different than that. So I can see why this wouldn't be up your alley. You know what I mean? It's a completely different style of music.
Yeah. When they went to perform these songs live for like Stop Making Sense, there were 9 people on stage. Like 2 percussionists, 2 keyboardists, 3 guitarists, 2 background singers. Like they were intentionally complex. Like there's like all the guest musicians, Brian Eno. It's more than just the 4-piece.
Dude, seeing this live would be crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also interesting that so you're correct that it is very much a different thing, but it's interesting to hear you say that because I don't naturally classify them as that far apart, just because similar eras, only a couple years apart from everything else in S tier, and played on the same radio stations and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Amongst other, common ground. So yes, they are very different, but it takes a good sit down listen to really fully understand what they are, I think.
So what are we going to do?
So we have
what did Inky say?
He said bottom of A, I think, right?
And he said middle of B was Inky's.
Yeah, he said between the pants and the face.
Oh,
But we
okay.
can't do that because it's too perfect right now.
Yeah, it's too perfect. Sorry.
So he said middle of B. Okay. Seamus said middle of C.
Middle bottom of C.
Okay. Okay. Top of S.
I'd put it below Boston.
And you have a top of A, Jack. Is that what you said? What is front of A?
Dude, I don't know. I mean, like
Mid A.
I've listened to that Dire Straits album at least twice a week, every week since we.
No, I've listened to it too. It's a great. I think I've liked it more since we stopped listening to
Yeah,
it.
it should be S, top of S, but
Straight
But,
up last week, listen to the REO Speedwagon album. Not
Really?
gonna lie.
that's
I would
awesome.
Not necessarily in relation to the random collage of songs we have on here, because obviously things aren't all in the places that we would put them. But just in general, you think it's mid A.
Oh yeah, sorry, I spaced out. I didn't know you were talking to me.
Yeah.
A. I would say probably in front of Men at Work is where I would put it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's to me, it sounds like it's going to the bottom of A or top of B. Is what it's.
That's what I was gonna say too. Yeah.
I would probably think
It's going top of that.
somewhere in A is probably where I think it'll land realistically.
I will fucking accept top of A.
I want bottom of S. At least bottom of S.
I do it the courtesy, but I don't know if we'll get that.
You have
Are S's-
two S's. You've got a mid A. You've got a mid B. You've got a low C.
Are S's reserved for unanimous vote? Have they all been unanimous? I don't think I said the Rush.
Close enough. Yeah. I don't
They
know.
haven't been unanimous.
I think
They've
I
been
said-
unanimous, but like if it wasn't S, it was like high A.
Yeah.
Or
I
mid
said
A.
A for 1984. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
I mean,
think I said A
I-
for Boston. I might have said S. Might have said S for Boston.
I said A for this.
check out.
Anyways, we're delaying the inevitable.
I feel like it's probably mid A based on what everybody's saying. I mean,
Unacceptable.
you've got two people above that point. You've got two people below that point.
Do S's get
Better than Mad Villainy.
S's
Yeah,
have
S-
to be weighted.
I feel like S's probably should be weighted a little bit, yeah. As the person in the middle, who I don't really care where it lands because it's kind of landing where I want regardless. I feel like S's should have a little bit more weight.
You can bump it up higher in A, but I think that's crazy if it's an S. But and I'm not saying that based on my opinion. I'm saying
Yeah.
that, like, you've got an A, a B, and a C. That's far from unanimous.
Yeah, I agree.
I
Totally
guess
agree.
that's somewhat fair as far as
I mean, that's two to three in terms of S's to
I'm
non-S.
so
It's
pissed.
not like the three non-S's.
yeah.
It's
No,
not like
I
the
mean,
three non-S's are high
Yeah.
end.
yeah,
All
I
right.
didn't expect Nigel to say it was the best one we've listened to.
yeah.
Yeah.
It is like I can't go any higher than top of S. So it's like, okay, you're 2 rows below A or 2 rows below.
That's fair.
but I'm-
No, that is fair.
Look, we have a new character. It's okay.
Yes. No, that's cooler. Now he's sinister.
Exactly. It's really cool.
Oh, this is better than fucking Rubber Soul, dude.
Too late.
It's cool.
God.
My hands are tied.
I'll concede top of A if we think that that's fair.
You guys want to do that?
Oh, if that's the best I'm getting, I'll take top of A.
That is definitely the best you're getting.
God damn it.
True.
That's sad. Well,
I mean, I don't want to. It's tough with Inky not being here because I don't want to be the sole person. That
I know. If Inky was here, like he's so like his vote's
Yeah.
so
Demonstrative.
malleable. Like all I would have to say is Inky, come on.
You're like, oh yeah.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Right, after everything that you guys said about it, actually, I think it belongs top of S. But I guess
Well, I'll tell you what. If Inky responds to that, he's gonna take like 2 business days to respond to that text in the group chat. And if he responds to that and he's like, you know what, that's honestly not that crazy of a take. Since I logged off 5 minutes ago, I've actually seen the light. If he says that, then yeah, fine, do whatever you want with it. But I think it's ended up in a fair spot.
I might have to FaceTime Inky after this. Might have to do some
Uh,
lobbying.
So
was
what
gonna-
are we
yeah,
thinking
for
for next week?
I mean that. What is that? Alice in Chains has been on there for a while. We could hit that.
So, as much as I would like to hit that, MC
Rumors.
recommended Rumors,
Yeah, she
I
came
think that would
back
be
this
sick.
weekend. She's already gone.
Yeah.
We missed that
and
opportunity.
Ted suggested a Jimmy Buffett album, which is
really?
really interesting.
First of all,
And
okay, I could
So I'm
have
down for Alice in Chains.
Greatest hits.
I could have called Ted going,
yeah, that checks out.
where'd you see him?
He responded on Instagram.
Nice.
Ted
nice.
Bundy.
So
Thought he was.
part of me feels like, we only have like about 8 listeners. So we should probably capitalize on the little engagement that we have.
Well, Alice in Chains is also. All 3 of those albums are listener.
That is a good point. That is a good point. Alice in Chains was
And it was the first one.
requested by Timken.
I think it would be a cool change of pace too.
Yeah.
Very, very
I
different.
haven't done 90s in a while. I haven't done grunge yet. I want to see what the runtime is on Jar of Flies.
Let's take a look.
I think it's like smack dab 30 minutes.
That's the best for these type of episodes. 30 minutes you could do like twice or 3 times in a day and be fine.
Yep, 30 minutes, 51 seconds.
Nice.
Yeah.
1994. There's some heavy competition in 1994.
There is. If you would like some further context for the band, the EP Sap is 4 songs, and that was around that time. Also similar to that album and different than some of
Oh,
the
Elmatic. Oh,
heaviest
Dummy.
stuff.
Oh,
Dummy.
Dummy is a great album.
That's an amazing album.
Yeah.
Is this 1994 albums?
Grace
Yeah.
Jeff Buckley. There we
Wow.
go.
Ready to Die.
Holy shit.
The Blue
album.
Dude, that's not a bad
Louis
show.
U.
I don't see Alice in
David
Chains
Flynn.
anywhere on
Nice.
this
That's
list.
the top 10.
Like I said, there's some
Dude,
steep
Super
competition.
Unknown
that's
is
some
a
real
sick
shit right
album.
here.
What a year.
Digable
Table Planets. That's a scary cover for an album band called Acid Band.
Yeah.
I don't know any of these bands anymore. OP Rock is good.
Oh, Guided by Voices. I know that.
I can't believe Super Unknown is 15th because there's a lot of like Black Hole Sun was on that, Spoon Man was on that.
I got this on the record player right now. This is one of my favorite albums of all time.
Ween.
Oh, shit.
That would be a fun one. We could put that on the queue.
Some
What?
Ween.
Ween.
Is that Beastie Boys?
Rollins. Yeah.
That's pretty far down there.
They're still going, man.
Yeah, they are. All right.
I think I could skip that.
Nice. Fun list. Dummy is an amazing album. Like Portishead, if you guys don't know that.
That's a
Yeah, it's
fantastic.
a great album. Great drumming. Great. Just
I knew you were going to say that, Nigel, because it's fantastic.
yeah.
What's the name of that guy? I forget.
I
He's
don't
really good.
remember. All right, so we've decided on Alice in Chains. Is that what we decided?
What a happy ending for me.
Sounds to me.
Oh,
I didn't really know where
boy.
Yeah, okay.
Another S for Seamus. No.
I don't think
No, this one is obviously not as much of a slow toss down home plate.
It's on the
I'll
T of the
be-
T-bell.
I'll be-
Yeah. Seamus,
Yeah.
If I wanted to introduce you to the Talking Heads, I would show you a different album. Like I think Nigel brought up like my favorite, and I'm happy that like this is the Talking Heads album we talked about. But I think I could pick a different one that you would like a little more.
What would you say?
Check out some other stuff. Like their first one, or Speaking in Tongues, the one after this with like Burning Down the House. There's some real good songs on that one too. Like maybe a little bit more accessible. Like I think this is like you either have to be like
Low
kind of
IQ music for Seamus. Thank you.
Well, dude, I got to be honest
No, I'm
with you.
just thinking about like because ultimately there's that subjective part. Like, are they going to like it? Like it's not
Burning Down
just
the House is not one of my favorite songs.
well, then I wouldn't pick that one.
I do like This Must Be the Place though. Just I wouldn't be surprised if that was another song Jack hated.
Now, this
You know,
is
I used to
how
like it,
turns
and
out.
like in the past like couple of months, it's become a meme recently, that song, and now I hate it.
Yeah,
It's dead to me, unfortunately. It sucks. I used to like it a lot.
Jack hears the song 3 times and he hates it.
If you hear the song on a YouTube commercial or on TV, it's dead.
Done. Cool. I'm excited. I've never listened to this album. It's gonna be good.
Either
Awesome,
way.
man.
I hope.
I'm super curious to hear what you guys say. Like I said, not as much of like a free S as it is just one of my favorite bands that I've talked about a lot on here. So.
Cool.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. Cool.
All right.
Good
Hopefully,
episode, guys.
takes next week are as good as his takes this week. That's all I gotta say.
Yes, sir.
Peace.
Take it easy, guys.
All right. See you.
See ya.